Shalom. I would like to talk to you today a little bit about decluttering your heart, your mind, and your soul. We are inundated daily with ads that tell us you can't live without this product, or you need this product to be efficient to do what you need to do. Or worse, you need this item right here to fit in with society. I've never been one for fitting in, but anyway, there are so many people out there who address decluttering your life and your home, etc. And I'm not going to regurgitate that because that is very well covered elsewhere. But what I do want to address is decluttering your heart, your mind, and your soul. We know our homes and our closets, our drawers, our offices, our cars, they get overcrowded with things that we really don't need and we can live without very comfortably. But have you ever given any thought to the clutter that you accumulate in your mind, in your heart, and in your soul, based on things that people have said to you, the way they treat you, circumstances in the past that were not pleasant? All of this junk does affect not just the health of your mind and your heart and your soul, but it also affects the health of your body. So if you put junk in your body, you're going to get a junky body. But if you put junk in your mind, you're going to get a junky mind, heart. It's going to take root in your heart. It's going to take root in your soul, and it's going to turn into bitterness. It's going to turn into anger. It's going to turn into disease. So that's the subject that I want to talk to you about today. How does all of this junk affect the health of your body, your self-talk, your opinion of yourself? Do you adopt the opinion that other people have of you as your own? Or do you have a really firm self-esteem, a really good self-esteem, a really good self-efficacy? Do you have a good opinion of yourself? Do you think that you are worthy? You know, one of the things that the enemy really likes to plant in people's mind is you're not worthy. You're not good enough. And this is a battle that I battled for, oh my gosh, most of my life, until the past couple of years. And we're talking about 40 years and I'm giving away my age, but that's okay. So we were talking about 40 years of the message, you're not good enough. You can't do this good enough. You're not a good enough wife. You're not a good enough mother. You're not good enough. And that leaves you wondering, well, what do I have to do to be good enough for you? But you know, this is an attack on your psyche, and it is from the enemy. It is from Hasatan. It is not from God. God never tells you that you're not good enough. And you know what? If you read the Old Testament, you will read how God always called people who thought they weren't enough. Moses, who am I? I'm a man of slow speech. Gideon, oh, not me, Lord. You know, always he called the people who thought they weren't good enough, because you know what? Because God knows who you are. He knew who you are from your mother's womb, and he knows exactly who he created you to be. He knows who you are. He built you and he made you. He knit you together, your cells together, your soul together, your heart, your mind, all together in your mother's womb. He knows who you are. He knows what you're capable of. But most of all, he knows what's in your heart and what you desire to do? Do you desire to be obedient, or do you desire to be a rebel, to rebel against his law and his commands? So get a little off topic there, but you know, you've heard the phrase, you are what you eat. And we tend to laugh off this old adage, but it's really true. If you look into the science of it, of what you consume, from the amino acids to the phytonutrients to the chemical constituents of the foods that you put in your body, everything that you consume is used by your body and recycled, if you will, to create your cells, to rebuild your cells, to repair the cells of your body. In a very literal way, like literally, the food you eat becomes you. So what about the things we're exposed to on a daily basis that attack our psyche and attack our spirit and attack our soul? What about those? Those also affect us. It's not just you know, if you're watching all the time, you're watching people who are and it's so prevalent today that it's annoying, people who are unsatisfied with their life, people who are miserable, and it's a cancer in this country particularly, but throughout the world. It is a cancer, and it does eat away at your psyche, at your soul, at your heart, at your mind. And I'm going to go over several things today, things that clutter up your heart and your mind and your soul. And I would like you to give some thought to the emotional, to the physical, the spiritual effects that these things have on you, that you're exposed to when you're exposed to each and every one of them. Just think about each one and how it affects you psychically, how it affects your heart, your mind, your body, and your soul, because they do have an effect on you. Think about how you feel physiologically. What does it make you feel like in your gut? Hi, babe. How does...
Out of the fridge.
Thank you. How does it make you feel psychologically, and how does it make you feel emotionally? I want you to think about how instead of your stomach, how your stomach digests your food, think about how your mind digests the things that are said to you, the way people treat you, and how it alters the way you feel and think about yourself, and how you value or devalue yourself, because it's very important. So let's talk about toxic insults and insulting actions. Think about how these words are used to devalue and to create a cancer that grows and spreads in your mind and your spirit, to make you feel like you are less than. You're stupid. You can't do anything right. Is that all you did today? I mean, these are just a couple examples that I've experienced in the past. They're direct insults. They're direct assaults. And they're intended as a verbal assault, and typically hurled in anger or indifference. So how do comments like that affect the way you feel about yourself? How many times do you need to hear something like that to internalize it and start believing it yourself? How long before you start repeating it to yourself? You know, we all have self-talk. We talk to ourselves in our minds and sometimes verbally. I've caught myself, oh my gosh, that was so stupid. That is degrading yourself. That is devaluing yourself. So once you start hearing this and it starts becoming a part of your psyche and a part of your thought processes, it really doesn't take long before you start repeating it to yourself. And when you start repeating it to yourself, you often will start repeating it to other people too. And you know, that's never a good cycle. It really isn't hard for someone else to devalue you if you don't know your own value. If you put yourself like on the lower shelf and you treat yourself like you're common, or you talk to yourself like you're common, you're not good enough, it doesn't take long before other people will do that. You will attract people in your life that treat you like that. But you need to put yourself up on the top shelf and realize that you are valuable. You know, God sees value in you. I see value in you. And you need to be able to see value in yourself. And stop letting people devalue you. There's also people who they won't say the things necessarily, but they'll act a certain way that will, their actions will make you feel like you're worthless, or that you're not as deserving of good things as they are, or as someone else is. The negative effects of this on your psyche can bring long-term and very devastating damage to your psyche. The one thing that you need to understand is that these types of insults and put downs and devaluing, degrading, these come from people who are toxic themselves inside. And so all they can do is spew that toxicity out onto other people. And I have found that in my life, I have to completely remove these people from my life because their internal composition is so toxic that it will overflow onto anyone and everyone who is near them. And that goes from bosses. Bosses can do this also. My husband had an experience where his boss was very degrading to him. And when he started standing up for himself and saying, you know, you don't treat me like that. You don't talk to me like that. When you start valuing yourself, you can force other people to treat you with respect that you deserve. You can. And you can, what you once permitted them to talk to you, how you once permitted them to talk to you, how you once permitted them to treat you, you can put a stop to it. You don't have to continue allowing it. And if they will not stop, then that's when you need to say, hey, you know what, that's enough. I'm done. Walk away. Just like you would avoid eating something that will cause you to break out into hives all over your body, this is how you need to avoid people who will not respect you. People who spew their toxicity onto you, and people who try to make you feel worthless. Because you're not worthless. You are not worthless. You have immense value. And if you have not heard anyone say, if you have not had anyone tell you that today, I'm telling you now, you have value. You are worthy of good things, and you are worthy of being treated with love and dignity and respect. We have people who give backhanded compliments, and God bless her soul, my mother's an excellent excellent example of this. She does this so well. Backhanded compliments are insults that are disguised as compliments, or they're coupled with a compliment. Let me give you an example. You look so pretty to be a big girl, insinuating that, you know, you would be even more prettier if you weren't big, or you would, big people should be ugly. But that's one I've heard a lot. One I heard recently from my mama is, you look really pretty in that shirt. That shirt makes you look bigger than you are. She means well. She does. She does not mean to hurt my feelings, but so yeah, she is a queen of backhanded compliments. She doesn't realize she's doing it. And let me tell you how people get in this mindset and this mode of interacting with others. Now, with people like this, you can limit your exposure to them, and you may need to do that for a long period of time until you can build up the way you see yourself, until you can value yourself and know that your own worth. But it's very important that you have a solid foundation in your own self-esteem and self-efficacy. So here's one thing that you need to understand that will make these little insults that are disguised as compliments roll off your back without affecting you. Most people do not know they're doing it. And most people don't know how to give constructive criticism, which is constructive. It helps you build you up versus tearing you down. And so they disguise criticism as a compliment, or they'll couple it with a compliment. And the thing is, this is a way that they have become accustomed to talking to people and to interacting with people, and perhaps it's something they learned from their own parents. It is dysfunctional, but it is what it is. And so they'll sandwich the suggestion with a compliment to soften the criticism, and they become so used to interacting in this way that they don't know they're doing it. And they don't intend to hurt your feelings. They don't intend to do you damage. And they're not even aware of the negativity that they're perpetuating. So that makes it, just understanding that most people who do this are not doing it intentionally to hurt you. They just don't know any better. They have not learned a better way to interact with others. And, you know, you have to make that decision if it's worth keeping them in your life or limiting exposure, or, you know, just forgiving them every time they make that little verbal cross over the boundary. The next group of people are negative Nancy's. And I guarantee you know at least one person like this. So you've heard the expression that positive people see the glass as half full and negative people see it as half empty, but the glass is always refillable, okay? And you know those people who will complain and gripe and be negative about everything. It doesn't matter what it is. Even if it's a good thing, they'll find something to make it not so good. They'll complain about it. Find something negative about everything, literally. I imagine you just had someone pop in your head right now. I did. So sometimes it seems that they will even complain about complaining. So, complaining is such a negative thing, and unfortunately complaining can be contagious. How many times have you been around someone who is complaining? Let's give an example about their spouse. And how long before you start thinking negatively about their spouse, right? It affects your opinion of them. But that's not what I'm getting at. But how long before you start complaining? Because complaining is contagious. It changes the way you look at things. And complaining, if you look at the Old Testament, complaining is so bad in Yah's eyes that He actually destroyed some people in the wilderness, like a group of people in the wilderness, because all they did was complain. Complain, complain, complain. This, that, everything is never good enough. And that's the crux of the issue. It's not. Nothing is good enough to meet their desires, their expectations. And this is this also can leave you feeling like you are not good enough. And the problem with complaining is it becomes a gangrene in your soul. It really rots away everything that's good, because all you can see eventually is bad. You see bad in everything. Poisons your mind, and then it poisons your soul. So complaining means that you have not learned to be content and happy in whatever situation you're in, because, you know, everyone has bad things happen. They have trials and tribulations, and they have things that they have to struggle through. We all do. But how you look at a situation can be encouraging to you and others, or it can be degrading to you, yourself, or to others. So remember, the glass is always refillable to overflowing. My husband laughs about this next group and what I call them. I call them the drama hounds. So that's my nickname, because it's A drama hound is a person that cannot survive without some type of drama. And if there's none, they will create it. Because peace makes them uneasy. Calmness makes them uneasy. Having nothing happen makes them uneasy. And there is actually a neurological component to this. It is a neurological and psychological addiction. Equated very similar to heroin. It mimics the action of opiates. Drama will cause the hypothalamus and the pituitary gland to secrete endorphins. And we know that endorphins are pain relieving and they are pleasure inducing. You know, you can exercise, go on a good run, and you get the endorphins flowing. But like heroin, you can develop a tolerance level to this, and you'll need to have an ever increasing number of crises to fulfill the need for the endorphin high. And I imagine that someone popped into your head about this, and once again, the same person that popped into my head about the negative Nancy also popped into my head about this, because this is another big crux of her issue. And once again, I'm going to tell you that if you want peace, and if you want an uncluttered mind and heart, if you want an uncluttered mind, heart, and soul, then you're going to need to avoid these people as much as possible. By the way, you can't fix them. They have to desire that you, what is it, alcoholics say you have to first recognize that there's a problem. Well, it's the same thing for, binge eating, for eating disorders, for drama hounds and negative Nancy's. You first have to recognize that there's a problem before you can change it, and you know, often people just don't. So you cannot change them. They have to decide they have to change themselves. So first of all, the main important thing that you need to do is set up boundaries of what you will allow people to cross over and what you won't. There are certain things I do not allow people to say to me. There are certain ways I will not allow people to talk to me. You talk to me with respect, and you will honor me with your words and your actions, or you don't have a spot in my life. And that comes with loving yourself and loving the person, honoring the person that Yahuah created you to be. Don't ever let anyone degrade you or insult you, talk down to you, put you down, give you insulting comments. Don't let somebody vomit their drama all over you or pull you into their negative headspace. And you need to fortify those boundaries. And absolutely no one, I don't care who it is, they don't cross over that boundary. Okay, now, my mama, the backhanded compliments, that's a slightly separate thing, because sometimes people just don't realize what they're doing. But I do have to limit, and when she starts getting that way, I'm like, you know, I've had enough today. So I will have to put a boundary up there and say, I've had enough today. It's time for me to go. I love you. I'll see you later. So you've got to know that there is a cutoff point for some things, but for some things you need to never ever allow to happen. And if they do, then you don't let weeds grow up in your garden, because they will suck the nutrients from the plants, right? So you don't let weedy people grow in your garden, because they will suck up all the good things in your life. So that is a very good analogy that just popped in my head just now. Once you put up your boundaries to where they're immovable, you know where they are, and you have let people that are in your life know where they are. And you know, you don't have to cut off a person just immediately, but say, hey, look, I don't like the way you're talking to me right now, so if you can't talk to me any better, then you can come back when you can. Okay? You don't have to completely cut them out, but if they do cross that boundary, say, throw up the red flags and say, hey, no, not acceptable, and walk away. Okay? And I'm not talking about physically abusive relationships, because that is a completely different situation. And I lost a sister to a younger sister to a physically abusive relationship. So physical abuse is never okay. So, and if you are in a physically abusive relationship, I encourage you to leave, because once you're dead, there's no going back. She knew if she went back the last time. We weren't allowed to see the body. The mortician said that she had been beaten pretty severely. Worse than they'd ever seen. So, I got a little sidetracked. Physical abuse is never okay. But when you're talking about emotional and verbal, you can set up boundaries. And you can tell people, look, this is not okay. And it needs to stop, or I'm gone. But physical abuse, never, never, never okay. The next step is you need to get rid of your own negative voice that has been berating yourself internally for years. I've been there too. Your self-talk, if it is negative or degrading, depreciating, hate-filled, whenever one of those thoughts come into your mind, you need to immediately replace it with something positive, self-affirming, something loving. And this means that you have to be cognizant of your thoughts. You have to be present in the moment, and you have to be aware when something crosses your mind so that you can replace it with something positive. But after a while, it becomes like a snowball rolling down a hill. It just gets easier and easier and bigger, and you learn to love yourself. So that is how you declutter your heart, mind, and soul. And that's all I wanted to talk with you about today. Yahuah bless you and keep you and give you shalom. And God bless until next time.